This is going to be an extraordinary up-close view for those of you watching back in the States, not only of something we have not seen in our lifetime, obviously a Pope being taken out of St. Peter's Basilica and instead to a different location at his request, St. Mary Major, the Basilica of St. Mary Major, where he would pray before and after every trip. There's the popemobile right there, carrying the coffin. This is about a 4-mile route. You can hear some of the applause there as it begins its journey, taking Pope Francis in it. Please, Deborah.
And a simple looking truck too for this simple coffin. I mean, one could be, could mistake this just for a vehicle down the street. I mean, look how simple this is, and this is what he wanted.
It is what he wanted, and he'll be returning to the Basilica where he would pray before and after every trip, and we heard about that in the homily today too. A number of different corners of the world that he traveled to. Iraq, just one of them brought up in the homily today, signaling his bravery and his determination really to reach those marginalized and in need. You can see the people on the sidewalk there as the popemobile makes the turn, and I want to bring in Inez de la Guitara. She's an ABC News reporter. She's on the route, and Inez, what do you see?
Hey, David, yes, you can see the amount of people who have gathered here. We are 6, 7.
Yep, we just lost you for just a second. Part of the satellite, probably the competing signals here with the world's attention focused on the Pope. I can hear her now faintly. You'll let me know, control room, when we have her
So, David,
back.
if you can.
Yes, please. Go ahead. Go ahead, Inez.
If you can hear me, David, yeah, so we're here, and you can see the crowd behind me. We are about 6, 7, 8 people deep, people from all around the world who have come here to watch that funeral procession as the People's Pope is about to be reunited with his people and make his way to St. Mary's Major, where he wanted to be buried. He didn't want to be buried in the gilded halls of the Vatican. I traveled with Pope Francis twice. He would always go to pray at St. Mary Major before and after every trip. It was always the first and last stop. So I'm expecting this to be a very moving scene as the Pope makes his final trip to St. Mary Major. And like I said, it's people from all over the world. We've met people from Argentina, from Hungary, from the U.S. I see a Brazilian flag behind my camera. I was lucky enough to be there when Pope Francis said that the church was a place for todos, 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 a place for everyone. And we are seeing that reflected today. People from all walks of life who wanted to come and pay their respects.
What have the people there told you? What drove them to come out to make sure they were on the sidewalk there, as you mentioned, 8, 9, 10 people deep?
Yes, I mean, there's people who were here already, either for the Easter holiday, people who were here for the canonization of Carlo Acutis, but there are also people who traveled here, who wanted to be here because this is a pope that meant so much to so many. Many people felt they had a very personal connection to Pope Francis, and this is someone who, I think even if you weren't a Catholic, Pope Francis carried a message of love, of peace. Up until the very end, he was pushing for peace in Gaza, in Ukraine, and so, again, yeah, people from all walks of life, from all different faiths, who wanted to be here.
Inez, thank you. She's just at the tunnel there that he's about to go through, not far from actually the modest papal residence where he lived too.
Well, that's right. Just a few minutes earlier, we saw the popemobile with his remains pass the Casa Santa Marta, where he spent the last 12 years. He decided not to live in the more elaborate apostolic palace where he kept his office. He also passed the Paul VI audience hall, where he would have a lot of those indoor papal audiences where many people saw him, where the synod was for the last 2 years. So places that are very familiar to him, familiar to his friends. He would often see his friends at Casa Santa Marta. Jerry O'Connell, who was with us recently, said that there was the morning schedule that the Pope had, all the official things, and then there was the afternoon schedule when he would see friends and visitors and people who weren't exactly, sort of assigned to see him. So I think it was wonderful that he lived in that very simple guest house, which actually will be where the cardinals will reside while they are, undergoing the conclave.
What are the chances the next pope moves back into the opulent sort of papal residence, or now feels a little bit of the pressure that Pope Francis has set an example here.
Well, I was thinking about that this morning, David. I think either way is fine. I think if he decided to, live more sort of simply, as it were. By the same token, that's a guest house, and people are coming in and out, and you would see the Pope in the cafeteria. So I would also forgive the next Pope if he decides I don't know if I want to see that many people and maybe move back to the Apostolic Palace. So who knows?
Who are we to judge, right? In Pope Francis'
Absolutely.
words, the next Pope gets to make that decision.
But I was struck by the fact that he said that he really liked to be amongst the people, and he thought that he would be isolated, actually, in the gilded part of that the Vatican. And he said psychologically for him, he needed to be around people. He would have lunch and dinner with janitors and people just around the building because he liked that people part of it.
Well, I would gather he preferred the afternoon schedule to the morning schedule, given what you just shared with us.
He would also go very late, too, sometimes 7:30, 8 o'clock, and continue to see people. He was very garrulous and loved being around people.
Talk to us about some of the other landmarks we're going to see along this route here today.
Well, I think you might have to bring in Father Walk, who's a little bit more of a Roman expert than I am.
Yes, Father Walk, you've actually lived in Rome for a good 30 years now, also originally from the States. You can see the feed that's coming in right now. Tell us what we should be on the lookout for here.
Well, we're waiting for the now we can see the popemobile turned into a hearse, a white hearse, coming out of the tunnel under the Janiculum Hill, and it's soon going to be crossing the Tiber River. So it's left the Vatican city-state. It's now in the city of Rome. It's about to arrive at the Tiber River. It will cross the Tiber and then take a very long straight street all the way to the Roman Forum and the Colosseum. And that's where it'll go by the Colosseum and then to the Via Merulana, which will proceed up to Mary Major. I wanted to mention something about Mary Major, which is that basilica also has an importance for the Jesuits, which is that the founder of the Jesuits, St. Ignatius, celebrated his first Mass at St. Mary Major. So it's a Jesuit church as well.
Let's go back to Inez, who's watching as the popemobile travels past her with the coffin, and you can hear the applause there in the background.
Yeah, David, the procession moving very slowly. There was complete silence up until the crowd broke out into applause. I heard people yelling out, "Grazie, thank you." And, I saw at least one woman wiping away tears. It's a very a powerful scene here as the Pope makes that final journey, that final trip to St. Mary Major in that simple wooden coffin. People from all around the world here who wanted to come and pay their last respects. It's quite emotional here, somber atmosphere, it's emotional, but I think very beautiful to see all these people who've come together to thank the Pope for what he's done, for his outreach, whether it was to younger generations, people on the peripheries of the Catholic Church. I traveled with him to Asia, to Papua New Guinea, to Timor-Leste, to Singapore, and that was the Pope really trying to reach out to those communities on the margins and wanting them to know that they too were a part of the church was also a place for them. And I think that's why you're seeing so many people today coming out to pay their respects.
Inez, thank you. Father John, I want to bring you back in because what a gift the Pope has given the city of Rome today, too. This is now being seen by the world, this trip through what is just a stunningly beautiful city and an historical city. Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing and what we should be looking for on this route here.
That final blessing of the Pope was urbi et orbi, which means in Latin, to the city and to the world. And so when someone becomes a Pope, they become the Bishop of Rome. And Rome becomes part of their identity. And the Pope deciding to be buried in St. Mary Major in the chapel that's dedicated to Salus Populi Romani, which is the health of the people of Rome. That's the image of Our Lady, of Mary, in that chapel is specifically Mary as the sort of patron of the people of the city of Rome. So the Pope is in a certain way underlining his Romanness and his being part of the city of Rome. And he will be, as I say, he will remain part of the city of Rome till the end of time.
You can see there that the hearse, which is Also looks very much like a popemobile, if you will. Glass windows around it so that you can see in, you can see the coffin that it carries. Look at the people there. And even Pope Francis would recognize, in the times that we're in, people would have their phones in the air. They would be capturing maybe one last sort of selfie, if you will, and he wouldn't even be offended by that, I'm sure. A photograph of the coffin of Pope Francis, the People's Pope, on one last journey through this beautiful and historic city of Rome. We do know, as part of the motorcade, it's a small group of cardinals, the Pope's relatives, secretaries, nurses, butlers who cared for him. They also are part of the motorcade following this ancient papal way through the city. This is actually the route that popes took in the Middle Ages when they traveled, usually on horseback from St. Peter's Basilica, though today moving at a somewhat slow pace so that people can take in the moment and the history of this. As we mentioned, having already passed the Pope's chosen residence, which was a guest house that he shared with others. I love the notion that you could bump into him in the cafeteria or at the dinner hour. Continued over the Tiber River, which we saw, that beautiful sweeping shot from the air of the city.
It's a beautiful view of the city. Also, he'll be passing by the Church of the Jesu, which is the Jesuits' mother church, also very important to him. I think as Father Walk was saying, he is now going to be part of Rome. People sometimes forget he is also the Bishop of Rome. He is the local bishop. And I was always charmed when in the Eucharistic prayer at home you mention, your bishop and your pope, right? Here in Rome it's the same thing. So you would talk about our bishop and our Pope Francis. So it's wonderful that he's going to be, as Father Walk said very beautifully, part of Rome until the end of time.